with a roster drop for the Canadian women's national team because their roster for the She Believes Cup has come down and there's lots of talking points to it. So let's get into the action here. If you like Canadian and African content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, leave a comment for this roster. What surprised you? What are you excited for? She Believes Cup. Let's go over some particulars here. Firstly, we found out that Canada will be participating in two She Believes Cups. So waiting for confirmation if that means this year is year number two or last year was year number zero. This is year number one, and next year will be year number two. Regardless, they are in an agreement for two She Believes Cups that are going to be taking place. So this one and the one probably to come or to fall, we shall see. But the roster, as it is listed in front of you, does bring up a few interesting points. Let's go through the roster, who was selected, and go from there. So, Marie Yasmin Alidou, Simia Wujo, Emily Burns, Gabby Carl, Annabelle Chuku, Sydney Collins, Brooklyn Courtnall, Melissa Dagenet, Jessie Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Julia Grosso, Jordan Heidema, Kaylee Hunter, Chloe Lacasse, Marie Levasseur, DB Pridham, Nichelle Prince, Emma Regan, Jade Rose, Kaylin Sheridan, Olivia Smith, Janine Sonis, Evelyn Vienne, and Holly Ward. So here's some interesting notes on this roster. For one, 24 out of the 26 players were selected. A little bit disappointed. Was hoping for a full 26, but we take what we can get. No Ashley Lawrence or Adriana Leone or Florian Jourde. Those were names on the last roster who aren't brought back for this one. I think the two veterans, if you want to look at them and say maybe based off play, it's interesting. A little bit surprised that Flo wasn't brought back, especially when you look at the youth that was brought in, but that's all right. Also, for injuries not available, uh, Lyciane Prou not available due to injury. Shalina Zadorsky, Sabrina D'Angelo, she can do no wrong. Kadisha Buchanan, who's on the mend, and Jade Riviere is back. Those are your names that are also not counted. And then new names coming in, which are interesting. We got Kaylee Hunter, DB Pridham, Annie Chukwu. I don't know if she's an Annie. We'll go Annabelle Chukwu, Brooklyn Courtnall, and welcome back, Chloe Lacasse. Oh, the talking points begin. Let's start with the thing. 22 out of 26. If you've been following this channel, I did a U23 series for what the team could look like, and it's basically the 2021 2022 U20 team, and they're coming in waves. Welcome to the program, Brooklyn Courtnall. I mean, another center back to come in, which will be very interesting to see how the pairing for that looks. If they go to a back three, if they play a back two with fullbacks warming up, that'll be very interesting to me. Omissions. This is one of those lists where I'm both happy. I'm not angry, nor am I fully excited because there is one name I was hoping to see. It hasn't been called up yet, and I'm hoping at some point they get called up. But it looks like that midfield might be too packed, and that's Nicola Small. Phenomenal, solid start year at AFC Toronto in the NSL. Has been great when called up for Canada at the youth levels. I figured this would have been a great opportunity to see because we're seeing a lot of new players, a lot of players who are getting their shot at the national team. And plus, when you look at the representation from, if you look at that 2022 squad, I think one of the things, and you look at the players who've been called up, it's not as if they aren't familiar with them. But I think it starts to scream a little bit more that I think this is going to be the midfield battle. One of those players in the midfield, whether it's Simia Wujo, Jessie Fleming, Julia Grosso, Emma Regan, I think that's your midfield battle. Whether you think it needs more, whether you think whether you think it needs more depth, it needs more players, different types of players to come through. It looks like this is where she is settling, and Casey Stoney is. And that's where it looks like it's sitting, which is unfortunate because if you look at the players who have come through, pretty much three of that roster just going to go through that 2022 roster. Florian George has been called up. Simi Ujo has been called up. And depending on where you see a player like Olivia Smith fitting, she's been called up as well. Nearly half of the midfield from that year could have been called up, and we still waiting to see what will come of it, but no real qualms other than that. Otherwise, I think that player, you're excited to see the new players coming through, right? Kaylee Hunter, DB Pridham getting another opportunity to debut and see what they can do for the program. Casey Stoney did say that Hunter is going to be focusing a lot on that U20s World Cup coming in, which is also something that Annabelle Chukwu will be attending. That's coming this fall at the end of this year. So getting some early looks wouldn't be a bad shout for. The other thing is with the injuries, it does create questions in terms of do they explore the depth, right? We are down based off of call ups, goalkeepers 2 and 3. Do we get an Emily Burns sighting? Do we get a Melissa Dagenais sighting on the pitch? That is something I'm curious to see. Also, we look at the fullbacks who weren't called up, right? We don't have an Ashley Lawrence. You don't have a Jade Riviere. Now you have the likes of Gabby Carl. You have the likes of Emily. My apologies. You have the likes of Sydney Collins, Brooklyn Courtnall, who is a center back who can play out wide. Janine Sonis, are you going to play her as a fullback or are you going to play her further up the pitch? And then that also brings up the players further up the pitch. Do we see a Chloe Lacasse fully unleashed? Do we see a Maria Lidou finally playing within some space? That's another midfielder that it seems like it's a crowded midfield. And then up top, the question of the day always will be who's going to be the striker? Is it going to be a player like Evelyn Vienne based off of form at club? Will Annabelle Chukwu get some run at the top of the nine? Do they put Olivia Smith there? I mean, I'm never going to back down my dream scenario of future Canada where you have Annabelle Chukwu leading the attack with Olivia Smith in the 10 or the second striker role. And then you have either any combination out wide of Holly Ward, Kaylee Hunter, Florian Jord, plus players who aren't here at this moment. I'm all for it. Feed that to me, please and thank you. But they have that coming up. Those are some of the questions I have all across the roster. And we'll have to wait and see. The midfield, right? We mentioned the midfield. That battle is going to be between all five of those players, right? Who's going to emerge and play well? We'll have to wait and see. So, reminder again, She Believes Cup. It does get going on March the 1st. It's Canada, the United States, as well as Colombia and Argentina. And one quick note on that games, if they end in a draw, are going to penalties. They want winners here. So we're going to get some penalty work if we aren't able to get past teams in the 90. That's something to keep in mind. We'll keep an eye on that. But that is the roster. Are you excited? Are you wondering what could come through? I'm wondering who stands out. Hopefully, again, the only name I would have been happier to see here would have been a Nikayla Small, but hoping some of these players get a chance to get run out. And to be honest, I want to learn something here. At the end of the day, I want to learn something. So if that means you start a unexperienced lineup versus the United States, do it. Let's learn. Let's see who's up to the speed. Let's see who can react well. And if it's not going well, you have halftime. You have substitutions to make. That is news number one. The other thing that happened today, also, simultaneously, it seemed, we got the draw for Canada's U17's women team, who will be participating in that qualification round to qualify for the Morocco 26 U17's Women's World Cup. Now, again, for the women's U17s, the different qualification format, there is a championship round, 3 groups of 4, as you can see here. The top 3, the the group winners, and then the top second place team out of the three groups moves on. So, very simply, top your group, you're on routes to the World Cup. And if not, you need to be the best looking second place team coming through. Canada draws El Salvador, Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua. In Group B is United States, Puerto Rico, Haiti, and Bermuda. That's going to be fun. And then Group C, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, and Jamaica is in Group C. Again, top your group. You're en route to that competition. And then the next best second place team will be following through. And we saw the last year's edition came down to the wire. Canada versus Puerto Rico was a game of stress, and we saw a team finally emerge, Canada emerging victorious there. But that is what is coming there. So that competition, to give you dates and get you running, that competition gets going right after the men's U20 first qualification round. So the men's U20 qualification for CONCACAF gets going on the 23rd of February, ends March 4th. And then the next round, the final round of competition for the women qualifiers for the championship for U17 gets going on March 17th, and then ultimately finishes on the 22nd with matchups all day on the 17th, the 19th, and then also on the 22nd. That's what's happening there. Guys, let me know what you're excited for. Let's talk either rosters or let's talk all things competitions. And as always, we'll start talking right here.